So are you like me and would like to burn your 2020 bullet journal? Well, one of the most important parts of setting up your 2021 journal is taking a good long look at the past year, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so you can go forward. Here is my 2020 review. I just want to warn you that there's probably going to be some heavy sighing in this video. I was on such a roller coaster of emotions this year. It's been quite the ride. I started the year with so many plans, and I did a series on bullet journaling. And with mine, I was making all sorts of plans and layouts for the things I was going to do in 2020. You see, my husband and I decided to semi-retire. That meant closing down our business of 30 years. So our January was spent closing down our unit and clearing out all the garbage and saying goodbye. And at our new space, I did my first YouTube Live. So the reason why I am here today is I have received a special gift from YouTube, and I want to share it with you because you guys made it happen. And somehow, in all this moving, I made my video that you watched the longest in 2020. Can I use up all my scrap? The epic after quilt challenge. Because almost everybody watched to the very end. In this video, I pushed myself to use up all my leftover scraps from my Victoria and Albert quilt and making an after quilt out of them. And this quilt here was the result. This was my first attempt at a vlogging style of filming. The shoot was long, it was exhausting, and such a relief to have it all done. And this was my last long-armed quilt of 2020, as the world went into lockdown shortly after, and I lost my access to my friend's unit and the rental unit. Then, the worst thing in 2020 happened. By far, my year has been defined by my eldest son's lymphoma diagnosis. COVID had just begun to be a concern when he told us, and we realized that we were going to have to go into isolation before everybody else did. I was able to assist him through the initial tests and the first treatment, but then everything just went into lockdown, and things got a whole lot worse before they got better. My son is 100% cancer-free now, thanks to a great team of doctors and nurses who did so much extra to aid in his recovery. I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. Thank you so much to everyone for their good wishes and their positive vibes that they sent my way. Your notes and emails kept me strong, and there were many days when I didn't want to be. I did my second YouTube live stream on December 17th. And all the Super Chat donations were donated to the North York General Foundation. I matched that amount, and I know that there was a number of people that donated directly. So in total, I think the donation was well over $1,400. Thank you very, very much. Speaking of the hospital quilt, my top video for 2020 was what to do with ugly fabric. Who'd have thought that this one would be the one, but I guess it resonated with a lot of people because it has been watched over 700,000 times. I had just pulled a ton of fabric from my stash for my video on playing with fabrics, and as I was putting the fabric back in my stash, I would see a fat corner and go, why do I have it? So ugly. I'm never gonna use it. And I would pull it out, and then I had another one, and pretty soon I had a stack. My top remake of the year was 10 sewing hacks from the dollar store. Who doesn't like a good sewing hack? It was just as much fun to make as the first one, and another 10 inexpensive tools to help you get better results. I snuck it in while Toronto was in a brief period of code yellow in the late summer, and I hope one day to be able to make a part 3. I made 4 STASHBUSTER videos in 2020, number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 7. To qualify as a STASHBUSTER, it must be fast and easy with little or no wastage. And my favorite was number 7. I made 2 versions and loved every minute of it. In fact, I couldn't make the second one fast enough as I had someone in mind to give it to right away. But honestly, when I finished number 4, the beginner Bargello, I was very pleased with the results. And the number 6, no fail layer cake method, well, that one almost broke my brain, but now it's complete and the binding's on. I'm also pretty pleased with the results. And the picture of me lying underneath it on Christmas Eve was my most popular Instagram photo this year. I was so pleased to start a new interview series. I wanted to start this series because I knew I didn't have the answers to all your quilting questions. So I'm bringing in others that do. I've had Anita Zobens, and we talked about thread. I had Geeky Bobbin, and we talked about publishing a quilt pattern. Then I had Peter Byrne, and we talked about quilt shows, and Chris English, and we talked about upcycling fabric. Then I had Sugary Dew on, and we were talking about quilting in the Netherlands. I had Pearl Ann Gooding, and we talked about putting stories in your quilts. And just recently, I had Janine Van Gool, and we talked about creativity, and Kim Soper, and we talked about destashing your fabrics. And on January 11th, I've got the amazing Mary Fons, and we're talking about legacy. And on January 25th, I have Cassia Sinclair, the author of The Golden Threads and The Secret Life of Colors. So be sure to mark your calendar. I also started a series called The Quilt Coach. It's somewhere I could answer all the questions that can't fit in an email but aren't worth a whole video. And I started using the timestamp feature in the description of the video so that you can go directly to a particular question. I also do this for my Q&As, and I hope to get an index going of frequently asked questions on my website this year. I did my first book club review. This took a little longer than expected. I had slotted it in for the 1st of February. Well, you know what happened. But since it's a book worthy of being on your reference shelf, I persevered and I finally published it on November 20th. What was the hardest video for me to make this year? By far, it was stripes. It seemed like a good idea going in, no pun intended, but at some point I found myself buried in a pile of sampler blocks, trying to figure out how to make it all work in a video. I've learned my lesson to never start editing a video without a script. I spent a long, hard time trying to figure out the no-fail layer cake. It took me months to figure out a pattern for a layer cake that would work for all layer cakes. If you watch the video, you know it took me ages in sorting and playing until I realized that there was no master pattern that would work for all layer cakes. But I did figure out a system of design that would work for all layer cakes. And then the actual filming. Making 3 quilts in 1 week is also something I learned is not a good idea. What video did I learn the most? Well, it was pre-cuts. It was really interesting doing a deep dive on the differences between all the different pre-cuts. I had just presumed that all layer cakes were the same. I thought they were just 10-inch square versions of fat quarter bundles. I had no idea that they had different assortments, and I had no idea how expensive they were. I actually did the math about 10 times. And then I did it 10 more because I did not believe that the premiums could be that high. What was my favorite video to make? What the heck is an afterquilt? I made this video way back in February before COVID in London, Ontario, while looking after my niece while her parents were out of town. She's a fairly sufficient young woman, but I did distract her a couple of times, teaching her how to sew and then how to knit. And while she was at school, I made my video. And it is her photograph that I used for my thumbnail. Here are some crazy facts. This is my 100th video. Last year, I made 52 videos. And I started the year at just over 100,000 subscribers. And on November 10th, I reached 200,000 subscribers. And on November 27th, I reached 10 million views. Thank you all very, very much. And I could not have done it without the team that's behind me now. Way back in May, I had a little bit of celebrity status when I was highlighted in Make Modern issue number 34, talking about my journey as a quilter. And a young woman by the name of Brandy Rivers read my comment about not having enough time for quilting because I'm too busy making videos. She had contacted me and has since become my VA. In the beginning, she was just sorting my emails, but now she does all sorts of things, including she keeps track of my lecture schedule, she helps me edit the newsletter, and all the copy that I have to make for social media. Then my friend Laura came on board. You've met Laura because she was in my video, The Pre-Quilt Challenge. I have all these ideas in my head, and twice a week she helps me prioritize what's important. Especially after I burnt out in August, we take care that I don't take on too much. And the burnout pushed me to take on a video editor, and I found Charlene. She started by editing the interview series, but now she also helps me edit with my main videos too. As we develop systems and I get myself more organized, I am hoping to be able to pass on to her more of the editing, which will leave me more times to pursue other projects, like a block of the month quilt along and maybe some online courses. So I'm feeling very good about 2021. Isolation has been hard. We have been forced to change the way we do things, get out of our comfort zones, and though I want to burst through that door of 2021, my experience is telling me to take it slower. And my saying for the year is not to run faster than my shoes. If you'd like to have a say about future videos and content topics, I have a link to a short questionnaire in the description below or on the homepage of my website, jessicadonquilts.com. Thank you for joining me on this trip down memory lane. Here's hoping for a wonderful 2021 where we can all get together again. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell beside the subscribe button so that YouTube will notify you when I make new videos. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Jessica Done Quilts. And sign up for my newsletter at jessicadonquilts.com. So take care, and I'll see you next time.